Broad River. That recreation will attract visitors and generate new economic opportunity, and perhaps most importantly, the park will create a welcoming place for visitors and neighbors alike to gather, not just to recreate, but to connect, relax, and just enjoy being outside. We believe that it's these moments, these opportunities to connect together with one another is what builds that community and that resiliency. In Woodfin, we believe that community is at the heart of resiliency, and parks like this help build that resiliency every day. It allows neighbors to meet, families to grow, and for future generations to experience the beauty and the vitality of our natural outdoor environment. We believe that Riverside Park is not just an investment in park infrastructure, but it's an investment in our people and in a shared vision that is healthy and safe for all of us. So thank you very much, and with that, I'll turn it over to Governor Stein.
Mayor McAllister and Town Manager Tuck, thank you all, Jim and Shannon, for the great work that you, the entire council, is doing here in Woodfin. This has been a really exciting and inspiring tour. I'm pleased to be joined by Assistant Secretary for Resilience, Kathie Dello, from the Department of Environmental Quality, and always good to be with Representative Lindsay Prather. Lindsay has been a fierce advocate for Western North Carolina in Raleigh to make sure that we are doing our part to support the incredible work that the people of Western North Carolina are doing themselves to rebuild after Hurricane Helene. So, Lindsay, thank you.
Awesome.
We are beside the majestic French Broad River for an exciting announcement. The state is awarding $6 million in grants from the Department of Environmental Quality's Flood Resiliency Blueprint program to help protect our state from floods. And when that truck is gone, I'm going to say the same thing over again. The state is announcing $6 million from the Department of Environmental Quality's Flood Resiliency Blueprint program to better protect the state of North Carolina from floods.
Yes.
The money is going to support 8 projects along the French Broad River. Today's nearly $6 million will help local governments create new floodwater storage. We just turned, how much landfills?
23,000 cubic yards.
23,000 cubic yards of land is being excavated so that when there is a flood, that water now has somewhere to go, and that will reduce the amount of flooding impacts downriver and Marshall and beyond. It will create new floodwater storage, restore and reconnect floodplains, relocate facilities and infrastructure out of harm's way, and improve water quality so that communities are less vulnerable to flooding in the future. We know that there will be floods to come in the future, so we're making smart investments now to limit flood severity, enable communities to recover more quickly, and to limit future risk. Helene's record rains overwhelmed the French Broad River Basin, cresting at nearly 25 feet. Here in Woodfin, the waters flooded homes, bridges, the recycling plant, and its largest employer, Silverline. The water reservoir's pipe experienced a major break, and when the water finally receded, it left a great amount of pollution in its wake. Today's grant of $284,000 to the town of Woodfin will improve riverbank stabilization, enhance stormwater control, integrate flood resilience into the foundation of this park, lessening the impact of future flooding, and prioritizing public safety. In addition to this award to Woodfin, we are also awarding the town of Canton $2.9 million, Black Mountain $1.65 million, Hendersonville $450,000, and Clyde $400,000. Investing in resilience and enhancing the French Broad River Basin will help us better protect towns like Woodfin and the others from future flooding. This program was begun by the General Assembly in 2021. The Flood Resiliency Blueprint has made a total of 81 grants like this, totaling more than $40 million across North Carolina. We need to build for resiliency when it comes to our floodplains. We also need to think about resiliency when it comes to our energy grid. Today, my Energy Policy Task Force put out a report with recommendations to ensure that North Carolinians have safe, affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy into the future. The need is more urgent than ever with the growing energy demands coming from our growing population and the emergence of data centers. I look forward to diving into the recommendations, but one thing is clear, whether we're considering energy policy or flood mitigation, the world around us is changing rapidly, and we must plan now to build a more resilient and affordable future. I want to extend a big thank you to everyone at the Department of Environmental Quality for identifying shovel-ready projects like this one and getting the money out the door so quickly. I want to thank the General Assembly for funding this initiative. I want to thank all the partners that make this happen. I see a number of county commissioners from Buncombe County. They are part of this work. The town of Woodfin is part of this work. A number of nonprofit organizations are part of this work. It really takes all of us coming together behind a vision to execute on it. And of course, I do want to thank Woodfin and all the other applicants for their commitment to enhancing the state's resilience and to supporting their constituents. I'll now bring forward Assistant Secretary Kathie Dello to say a little more about the project.
Finally, a podium that's my size. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Governor Stein. It's always an honor to be in Western North Carolina on a beautiful day. So Secretary Reed Wilson couldn't join us today, but he sends his regards and well wishes. But I'm also joined by a number of Team DEQ, including our Flood Resiliency Blueprint Program Manager, Stu Brown. Stu, I think you're over in that direction. We are just over 500 days from the unspeakable devastation from Hurricane Helene. And across North Carolina, flooding is becoming more frequent, more severe, and more expensive. That's why we created the Blueprint. It's a groundbreaking, data-driven initiative that helps local leaders plan and invest in long-term strategies to reduce flood risks. This is the largest ever investment in resilience by the North Carolina General Assembly. With an initial appropriation of $96 million, we've built the data, tools, and processes needed for basin-wide flood resilience in the 6 river basins identified in the legislation, including the French Broad. With these 8 projects that we're announcing today, we've now funded 81 projects totaling $40 million through this innovative, one-of-a-kind program. Here in North Carolina, flood resilience is best achieved through thousands of small community-centered projects that preserve the character of the places that we live, work, and play. Here in the French Broad River Basin, our staff work closely with local leaders like Town Manager Tuck to identify projects that reduce flooding while enhancing community benefits. These communities are using these awards to stabilize riverbanks, restore floodplains, upgrade stormwater systems, and create parks that can safely handle high water. These projects protect roads, homes, schools, and public spaces while improving water quality and expanding access to recreation. Next week, sneak peek, we will be adding new and updated flood modeling to the Blueprint tool, so leaders can make wise resilience investments with limited resources. But now we need funding for the 11 remaining river basins in North Carolina, so we can offer the same services that we've provided to the folks in the French Broad River Basin and the Neuse River Basin and the 4 others to work toward making North Carolina the most resilient state in the country. So thank you again for joining us today, and I'm going to turn it back to the governor.
Happy to take any questions, and you can address them to me or to any of the speakers.
Yeah, first question, we just were in Marshall. Why come here to this community today, and why is this so important to continue making these announcements?
Yeah, well, it's important that people know that their government is actually trying to do everything in our power to help them. We know that there will be floods in the future, and the question is, have we learned anything from the horrific experience of Helene so that we can mitigate the pain, the damage, the heartache that so many people experienced? And the answer to that is yes, we have learned, and we want to invest today in resilience so that when that future storm comes, it will be that much less painful for the future folks.
before we start this press conference?
I read about the project. I read about the grant application. They were words on a page: flood mitigation, riverbank support, making sure that there's a broader floodplain or ability to absorb floodwater. But those are words on a page. One really needs to get out and see what is happening on the ground. And I'm a big fan of Woodfin. They got great vision. They got great vision.
Do you kayak?
I know how to flip over. The problem is I don't know how to flip back.
You talked about bringing more people into the state of North Carolina. Can you talk about the reassurance that a project like this will give people if they're looking to move here? And then also with that recreation aspect, why does that also draw in more people?
Well, I'm not bringing people into North Carolina. People are coming here. North Carolina was the #1 state in the country to which people from other states moved last year. We're the 3rd fastest growing state, both in absolute numbers and as a percentage of our population. We are a fast growing state. People understand the wonder that is North Carolina, and we have so much to offer, not only our own people, but folks around the country, whether that is a growing economy that's diversified with good paying jobs. We had the best year of job announcements last year in the history of the state. 35,000 jobs, $24 billion of capital investment that we announced. So things are going well here. That doesn't mean that people aren't struggling. There are a lot of folks out there who are struggling with the cost of living, and we need to do everything in our power. That's one reason why I created that energy policy task force, because electricity bills are real. They're a real burden on people. We need to build more housing to deal with all this influx of folks. But whether it's somebody who's new coming to this region or it's somebody who's lived in Woodfin for 40 years, they should be able to enjoy this incredible amenity, the French Broad River. And to have this waterfront park, they're going to try to connect the Greenway to the River Arts District in Nashville and north. These are amenities that just make our lives better. And if you can do that and mitigate the risk of future flooding, that is a win-win. And I commend the folks of Western North Carolina for their vision.
Governor, what have you heard about how the funding shutdown to DHS is going to affect the reimbursements that so many communities are waiting on here?
We haven't heard yet. Of course, the government just shut down on Friday. The one part of DHS, Homeland Security, that matters greatest to Western North Carolina is FEMA, because they approved the reimbursement of towns like Woodfin, of counties like Buncombe, that incurred real expenses on projects that FEMA had authorized them to do and are slow in reimbursing them. And for some of these local governments, it could be a substantial portion of their entire annual budget just waiting to be reimbursed for something they had authority to do and that they did. So I am concerned about any slowing down of what has already been too slow a process to get these reimbursements of public assistance to local governments. And so I urge Congress to act as quickly as they can to resolve this. There is no reason why you can't, on the one hand, fund FEMA, and on the other hand, expect basic measures of accountability out of what is now the largest federal law enforcement agency in the country. And that's what Congress needs to do, come together.
Just to follow up, have you had conversations with Senator Budd or Senator Tillis, any of the North Carolina delegation about that?
No, not since this weekend, no.
Staying on Congress for a second, I know you were in Washington in January advocating for an additional $13.5 billion for Western North Carolina recovery. Could you give us an update on where that stands? I know that you've been asking for over a year now for additional funding. I think the last federal funding we received was from the bipartisan bill in 2024.
End of 2024. That's correct. Look, North Carolina has not gotten its fair share from the federal government to help us recover from Helene. If you just look at what other major storms and the impact on those states that those states have received, it's often 40 or 50% of the overall damage they get in help from the federal government. Last calculation I'd seen is North Carolina had received 11 or 12% of the total damage from the federal government. Now, I am grateful for every single dollar that we get from our federal partners, but it's imperative that they step up and help the people of Western North Carolina the way that we deserve for them to do so. So we had very constructive meetings when I was in Washington, and we've had a number of follow-on conversations with congressional offices since those meetings, and we're going to keep working with our delegation to make sure that North Carolina is taken care of.
Any last questions?
Thank you all for being here. Great day.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
The governor's a fan of Woodfin.
it. I love it. Who can't be? Maybe we'll have to learn how to kayak together.
Do you guys want to stick around for a group photo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
First.
Come on in.
Come.